Friday. My name is Kimini Nyamani. I'm coming up over the next 60 minutes. Executive Director, Monitoring Center, says the Food and Drugs Authority should ensure it builds a system people trust. Experts in the petrochemical industry call for revenues from the oil and gas sector to be channeled into developing other sectors of the economy, particularly agric. On the foreign front, Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee investigating the Kenya mall attack says 2 child bodies pulled from the Kenya's Westgate shopping center on Thursday are highly likely to be 2 of the attackers. In our first story, Executive Director, Monitoring Center, Professor Alex Dodu says the Food and Drugs Authority should ensure it builds a system people trust. Speaking on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM, Professor Dodu said although the World Health Organization conducted checks into FDA's monitoring system, it is yet to come out with a report.
We have a system which is developing. Are we there yet? The answer is an emphatic no. Our Food and Drugs Authority cannot and will not be described as a stringent regulatory authority like the US FDA or others. We can say that we are better than a lot of countries around us, and that is true. But compared to the best there is, we are nowhere near there. These are the things we need to accept. We can say, well, we are doing it made in Ghana and it's good for ECOWAS. Fine. It's a process that we need to say that, look, we want to be seen as a stringent regulatory authority like the US FDA, like the EMA, and that maybe this is a time frame within which we will get there. I definitely do not see us. We are not there yet by any form of assessment, whether WHO or elsewhere. Yes, we are putting in systems in place. The country is developing. And yes, I hope and I trust and I believe that the enthusiasm to do that, or really I hope that the enthusiasm is there. But we do not, and I state categorically, have a national regulatory authority, the FDA, that will be described globally as a stringent national drug regulatory authority. The answer is no. But we are better off than countries around us. What we are saying, and what I believe the FDA should share with all of us, all Ghanaians, is that we want to build a system whereby everybody trusts that things are working. That is not to say that they are not doing their work. No, the world is changing. Things around us are changing. We should adapt to the changes of a changing world. WHO came and did an assessment in Ghana. The report is not out. I report it's not out. What they did say is that they told the FDA, you are doing well, but there's a lot of improvement still required. The report is not out, and I don't think anybody, myself or the FDA inclusive, can come out and say the report said you are passed. There's a lot of work to be done. And what I would just call on all Ghanaians is that this is something for the protection of all of us. Till our FDA becomes as stringent as FDAs elsewhere, Singapore, other countries, then we are not there. And for as long as we are not there, we have to accept that we are not there. There's a lot to be done, and it must be clearly laid out in a transparent manner so that at the end of the day, when we take medicines, we feel safe.
A member for the governing board, Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Ernest Owusu-Aboagye, who was also on the Super Morning Show, says the move by the Ministry of Health to set up a committee to look into the Food and Drugs Authority is a first step in ensuring safety of the public. It dismissed reports the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana was acting in the interest of pharmaceutical companies, saying the safety of the public is also their priority.
Over the fact that the key stakeholder that they deal with is the industry and the health system itself. If you pick a product at the end user point, a lot of other factors could come in which would render the drug substandard but may not be attributable directly to the importer or the manufacturer. So we are saying that the approach, yes, could be very good, but they owe it to the health system to which the public patronizes, not to undermine it. They owe it to the industry that the public patronizes, not to undermine it. There's no benefit in picking people on and responding to whatever each person said. What we have now is not the best. The PSGH believes that regulation, communicating even findings, putting out alerts and statements, we could do better. And we believe that the ministry has taken the first step. We are ready to support it fully to make sure that every Ghanaian everywhere can go to sleep knowing that whatever you are getting as medicine is safe. We are not interested in any particular business. We are interested in confidence in the health system, confidence in the medicines we get, and confidence as patients anywhere in Ghana.
The Convention People's Party says attempts by the Progressive People's Party of merging with them and other Nkrumah's parties will not materialize, according to the Communications Director of the CPP, Niyama Komfa. The PPP's intention to merge with the CPP, will not be possible since the former does not believe in the philosophies of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the founder of CPP. In the studio with me is Abu Fogo, national organizer of the Convention People's Party. Many thanks, Abu.
Yeah, thank you.
Abu, let's understand the issue. Is it the PPP that is asking for a merger with the CPP, or is the PNC that is exploring that?
Well, from what we are hearing, it is the PNC that is exploring that. Although there are many schools of thought, and I don't think that there's any problem with that. You know. So, well, that is the answer to your question.
Let me get it again, because I asked one question. I think you have answered another.
Yes.
The CPP would merge with the PPP if it brings it to the table.
Well, yes, it is an issue that we would consider. I mean, the CPP would be ready to merge with any progressive force, okay? Any party that would think like us, believes in our ideology and philosophy, will be ready to go to table with them.
How
we don't have a problem with
easy
them.
would that be? We know how the CPP, I mean, yesterday I said that, it's taking a lashing. At the PPP is taking a lashing at the CPP over some internal issues that it feels it hasn't tackled well. We saw how Papa Kwesi Indum, who was your candidate, presidential candidate at some point, broke away from the party to form the PPP. And we think that we could just have a merger of both parties. How easy would this be?
Well, that one, it is left with both parties. We saw similar incidents in the other political parties. We saw the DFP and the NDC. We saw even at a point the NPP, before even it became MPP, the UP tradition, how it went into factions and lashing at each other. I mean, politics is a different ball game.
Your leadership says that it's not something.
The leadership says that is not. That is.
I mean,
well.
That's not something that would happen.
Well. For some of us, we don't rule it out. Okay, there are different schools of thought. One is even thinking that let's try to get all the Nkrumah's fragmentations together to become a very strong force, you know, to drive our ideology forward. Another has been thinking that, no, it is not only the Nkrumah's traditions, but also we get all the socialist parties together, so that if you are like a party like NDC that calls itself a democratic party, for that matter, a socialist party, you have DPP, you have GCPP, you know. We are not limiting it. Some are looking at other issues, you know, not looking at only CPP, PNC. And there's another school of thought that is thinking that no, CPP, let's try to go solo. Let's garner all the forces that we need. As the bus starts going, I mean, the other forces would come to join, to give us that push that will get us to where we want to get to. So these are all schools of thoughts.
What would the PPP be adding? I don't even think I have found out if there's been any formal indication that the PPP would like to merge with the CPP.
Well, so far the CPP hasn't received any formal invitation
but what
from
would
the
they be
PP.
bringing aboard?
No, you're talking about game of numbers. You get me? You're talking about numbers. They'll be bringing numbers. There is no party in this country that will say that yes, we are okay with our state. We don't want any party to come. There is no party in this country, no matter the ideological differences. And excuse me to use this idea of using that it is only the food that does not change the mind. Even at a point, if CPP thinks that yes, PPP, we need them on board, well, and we discuss it at various levels, and then we need to approach PPP to bring them. Or PPP also sit down to say that, yes, look, we broke away, we have formed our party, we are on. I mean, let's think about see how we can get together with the CPP again. There is nothing wrong with that. It's about numbers.
In the 2012 general election, we saw an impressive performance from the PPP. You think that we'll just let all that go and then decide that, okay, well, it's a game of numbers, so let's just join the seat?
Well, that is left to them. And that is why I'm saying that for now, we have not extended any invitation to them. The intention can be coming from both sides. You know, it could be that PPP is also intending, you understand, to call on us, or maybe we are also intending to call on them. But we all saw that, yes, the PNC chairman, he has taken the decision. No, and he is asking PPP to join the major talks between PNC and CPP. That is his school of thought. He thinks that when PPP comes on board, you know, but there are other schools of thought that think that no, it should not limit there. We should even go to the other socialist parties like the NDC. No, let's see how we can all come together to become a big progressive force that will move this country forward.
What's the state of talks with the PNC? I mean, we've been talking about merging with parties that over time we haven't heard that you would want to merge with. But let's talk about the PNC. We know that's been a talk that's been shelved for a very long time. What's the state of that now?
Well, the state, as I speak with you now, is that, look, let's keep the talks going and get it out of the media. When we get to a point that the media is to come in, then we now use the media or get the media to assist us in doing whatever we want to do. Because most often than not, the media comes in and before we realize, other things are happening. But there's one important thing. This time around, we are giving timelines. We're not just going to allow it or wait for last minute. Others try to use that game of our media for, excuse me to say, their own selfish gains. This time we are not going to allow that. We're going to give timelines and go by those timelines. By this time, if things do not happen, hey Jack, let's all go on our ways and Ghanaians decide whatever way they want to go.
PNC Chairman Alhaji Ahmed Ramadan feels that you should have been done with the talks by end of November. Is that a possibility?
Well, there is a committee, you know,
you're
side.
National organizer.
Yeah, I'm the national organizer, right? Yes, there is a committee. The two committees are working. We are listening to them at the right time. At the right time, they will tell us what point they have reached. It is not for something for me to say now because we have all agreed that let's keep the details, let's keep the happenings now below a point. But when it gets to a point that we want the media or the public to know, we would come out. Meanwhile, our grassroots and all the other organs of the two parties are involved, and we are all watching and talking in our small ways, but staying a bit out of the media.
Right, many thanks, Abu. Abu Fogo is national organizer for the Convention People's Party. Let's move on to some other stories. And agitated workers of the local enterprises and skills development program today besieged his office at Laboni in Accra, threatening to cause mayhem. According to them, the organization has refused to pay them the accrued salaries after abruptly ending their 2-year contracts without notice. It's a report by Matilda Nyakwa Dennis.
The Local Enterprises and Skills Development Program, LESDEP, is a public-private partnership under the auspices of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development with a mandate to create and facilitate the acquisition of technical, entrepreneurial and other specialized skills leading to the creation and management of sustainable businesses. This led to the employment of about 120 mechanics who were to assist some Chinese workers manufacture vehicles across the country. These experienced mechanics tell me they were promised 1,100 Ghana cedis each month and an extra 300 Ghana cedis in monthly allowances. They, however, say apart from the allowances, nothing was paid to them until January 2013 when the contract was abruptly abrogated.
The problem is, after the end of the contract, they give us a letter that the contract has ended. So we should come for our letters so that they give us something small to send us off. So that we see our salary is not coming. The end of contract money too is not coming.
Actual money was 11 million and they give us 3 million.
You see, the money was supposed to be 11 million because the Chinese people told us that the contract that they signed between our government was 11 million. And we learned, they said they should give us all our money. And one of our management said that because we are young, we cannot manage that 11 million. So they are giving us 3 million so that they will keep the rest for us. Are we too small? Are we small boys that they will keep our money for us? 2 people have died. 2 people.
So we work up to 8 months. The contract hasn't ended. And they call us that we should all gather in Accra. Since they called us in January and they told us this thing, they didn't send us again. And they said we should go home. When they need us, they will call us.
They also accuse the LESDEP of giving each worker only 600 Ghana cedis as transfer allowances.
And what I know for sure is that if you are transferring somebody from one point to the other, the money that the person is taking needs to be increased. Because the place that the person is going, the person doesn't know anybody at that place. You need to rent a room, buy 1 or 2 things at your place or at your disposal. You went there, fine, they give us something to rent a room. And you cannot determine that this very place, I'm going to rent a room for every 600 Ghana or every 700 Ghana. You don't know. But they give us 600 Ghana, that is 600 million. Whether you like, 6 million. 6 million, that's 600 Ghana. For us to go and rent the room alone, for us to go and rent the room for only 1 year.
When the news team contacted the communications department of LESDEP, they declined to speak on camera.
News Today returns after this. You're welcome back. Now, Talagana says Kwame Nkrumah, which was shut down for maintenance, has been successfully completed. In a statement, the company said the shutdown, which began on September 20, was successfully completed on September 29. All key work scopes, including vessel inspections and cleaning replacement of safety critical equipment, as well as pressure relief valve recertification identified for maintenance, were completed. It explained the production restarted on September 29, ramping up the wells to previous production levels as at October 7. The next shutdown maintenance will be held in the second half of 2014, in line with the partners' commitment to global maintenance and integrity standards used throughout the oil and gas industry. The youth have been implored to endeavor to be business-minded and take risks to help solve the phenomenon of graduate unemployment. Governor of Karma Group, Dr. Michael Ejekumadu, addressing an award ceremony in Accra, called on the youth to be entrepreneurs and stop seeking for non-existent jobs.
The award was organized by Wave International in partnership with Campac International PLC as a way of encouraging young people to develop business on their own to help eliminate graduate unemployment in the country. Institutions and personnel in entrepreneurship leadership were honored. All Nations University was awarded the Private University of the Year 2012-2013. UK Ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Peter Jones, advised the youth to have leadership skills and congratulated the Ghana Black Stars for their victory over Egypt.
And we're here to celebrate not just the act of mentoring and the process of mentoring, but the pursuit of excellence. That's the word we keep hearing, excellence. And the microphone is not it's come back, excellent. Technological excellence, excellence in many forms. We've heard musical excellence, fantastic. And I can't believe that we are this far into this event and we haven't talked yet about sporting excellence and about what happened on Tuesday. And I think you have to give it up for the Black Stars, don't you? Thank you. I have to tell you, for those of us who were supporting 2 teams that day, first Ghana, then England, it was a day of 2 halves, as they say in football. A first half of excellence and joy and beauty when Ghana did what it did, and then a very nervous.
The Chief Executive Officer of Youth Harvest Foundation, John Kingsley Krugu, was awarded the highest prize as the Youth Ambassador for the year 2012. He urged young, talented people to take risk and have confidence in themselves.
That you have to be brave. I remember that 2005, I had to be brave. There are so many NGOs in the north, from Tamale to Boga to Wa. You can't finish counting the NGOs. So when we were going to found one, the question was, why start another one when there are so many already? But the reason why we started was that I believe at then, and I still believe today, that Northern Ghana has been historically labeled as the poor part of this country. And I believe that we cannot come out of that poverty by running a non-profit economy. You see, everywhere you go, there are NGOs, and NGO does stand for non-governmental organization. It also means non-profit organizations. So if we are running a non-profit economy in the north, there's no way we can ever address poverty. So we decided we will start an NGO, but we will do business with the people of the north and force people to think, and that it is only when people begin to think that they can come out of poverty.
The governor for Kama Group, Dr. Michael Ejikumado, highlighted the need to be business-minded and eliminate poverty in the country.
Recognizing people that are using their right imaginative brain, talents. So if you are going out there to mentor, just look out for talent and help like a coach. You can't rely on human beings. Rely on yourself. And I like His Excellency saying that, what were the three things? Brave, positive, and be yourself. In 3 years, this will be Bawasum one and no, and chance one kasa one and no.
Just before we visit the stock market, news coming in has it that there's been an accident, very fatal accident, somewhere at Asumaso Nkwanta in the Kwabirim district. And my colleague Nuruddin Mohammed is joining us over the telephone with some details. Hello, Nuruddin.
Hello, Kevin.
What more can you tell us about this accident?
There has been an accident here at Asumaso Nkwanta in the Kwabiri district of the Ashanti region. A 207, involving a 207. 8 people have been confirmed dead, and the rest have been sent to the hospital. We are told that the 207 was trying to dodge another tipper truck which was also on the same lane with the 207. But the 207 was traveling from Kumasi to Ejura. So the driver was trying to dodge that tipper truck, and unfortunately, it fell into a trench, and 8 people have been confirmed dead, and then the rest have been rushed to the hospital.
Many thanks, Nuruddin. Nuruddin Mohammed joined us from the Kwabiri district in the Ashanti region, where there's been an accident somewhere at Asumaso Nkwanta. And he tells us that 8 people have already been confirmed dead, and some others have been taken to the hospital. We'll bring you an update on this particular story in subsequent bulletins, so stay on for that. Let's now go to the stock market. I have with me David Odoi Dankwa with me in the studio, and he's with GoCo Securities, and he'll help us understand the stock market, we'll do a quick review of the stock market. But last week we started a bit of education on how to choose your stock, and so we'll begin with that just before we go into a review of the stock market. You have chosen the stocks, and what's next after you have selected your stocks? David will help us, understand that, right?
Yeah.
So what do I do?
The next thing after choosing the stocks that you want to buy on the market is choosing your broker. And I think next week we will go into details, the factors to consider in choosing a broker. If left to be alone, I'll say GoCo Securities. But I'll just have to leave it for the investor to choose his or her broker. So next week we'll go into it. So after choosing your broker, because you can't go to the stock market as an individual to buy from the market, you need to get a broker who will lead you on the market. As I always compare it to the courtroom, you need a lawyer to help you go to the court. So when it comes to the stock market, you also need a broker who will help you get the stocks that you want to get from the stock market. So then now you've chosen your stocks, you've given to your broker has bought all of them for you, so you have your stocks on the Ghana Stock Exchange, or you have your stocks also among the listed shares on the exchange. The next thing you have to do, which is key but most Ghanaians ignore, is monitoring of the stocks.
Right.
Monitoring of the stocks, because a lot of us, we buy it and we will see women the day we feel like taking out money, we just go to our brokers and tell them we want our money out of the exchange. That is not the way the stock market deals, because you need to really monitor your stocks on the Ghana Stock Exchange or on any exchange that you are dealing with. So in monitoring, somebody will ask, what should I look for? As we started earlier on, you need to have your objectives for going onto the market. So maybe you went to the market, you say, I'm buying this particular stock and I have the aim, or I'm creating this portfolio and I have the aim of achieving 100%. I have the aim of achieving 100% returns on the stock. So then out every day, you know, the stock market performance comes out after 3 o'clock every day. So then you have to look or call your investment advisors to advise you on how your stocks are performing. So you look at the year-to-date returns. That is, how much has my stock made as at this particular day. On the market, you have some of them making negatives and we have others also making positives. And you compare it to the average performance on the market. So
and those are the things you should take note of when you're monitoring the stocks.
It's one of it.
One of it.
Yes.
Right.
Then the next thing will be your price. Then you also look, apart from the year to date, though there is the price that gives you your year to date, but you have to also monitor your price. How is the price moving? Is the price going up or is it coming down? And on frequent basis, you can also ask about the liquidity, how liquid that stock is, because the liquidity of your stock will also determine the returns that you get. These are the few things I will ask you to monitor on daily basis. Subsequent ones, we will look at you taking their financials and going through to observe what is actually also happening in that particular company or the institution that you've bought the shares of.
Okay, now that we have an understanding of that, next week what would we be looking at?
Next week we'll be looking at choosing your broker.
Choosing your broker. Because not everybody could be the best of brokers.
Yes, you need to get the best, and there are some factors you need to consider in choosing your broker.
And we'll look at that next week.
You will look at that next
But just
week.
before I let you go, review of the stock market.
The stock market is really doing well, especially this week. We've seen the both the composite and the financial index. I mean, indices. We've talked about composite and financial indices, so I need not to explain it again. Yeah, these indices are really scaling up, and we now have the composites around 73.85. Meaning an average return on the market is around 73.85, and we're having some stocks also make it as much as 400% on the market. So you can see the market is really doing well. But entering into the last quarter of the year, that is where we are a little bit I don't know how to put it, because a lot of factors are coming in. Though the listed companies have very good operational performance, I mean, they are doing good as in their operations, but there are some external factors, as in what we talked about some time ago, the British cautioning their Nationals Against Terrorism Act in Ghana, and we have the latest, the downgrading of the Ghanaian economy, worthiness. All these factors are going to affect, because a lot of analysts are going to look into it and how it's going to affect their potential stocks. So a lot of people will hold on as in buying, and we have the normal third quarter. You know, third quarter comes with a lot of pressure on the financial market. So all these are going to also affect it. So then the market might be a little bit slow or a little bit unstable getting to the last quarter of the year. So this is how we are looking forward for the market to be.
Thank you very much,
Most
David.
welcome.
David Odoi Dankwa is of Gold Coast Securities. If you're interested in stocks, you know where to go to. But let's move on with our stories. The experts in the petrochemical industry are calling for revenues from the oil and gas sector to be channeled into developing other sectors of the economy, particularly the agriculture sector. Speaking at a dialogue session at the CS National Policy Fair, they indicated leveraging resources in the oil and gas industry with resources in other parts of the economy will ensure the needed growth and also do away with the much feared Dutch disease.
Discovery on the 26th of June 2007 could be a blessing or curse depending on how the resource is managed. The Jubilee field is currently producing in excess of 110,000 barrels of oil daily upon resumption of production over the weekend after a shutdown for maintenance. The 10 and Sankofa fields are also expected to come on stream in the second half of 2016. The three fields collectively have reserves of 1.2 billion barrels with an upside potential of up to 5 billion barrels. Gas, another discovery in these fields, also has an estimated reserve of between 3.5 and 4 trillion cubic feet. In the light of the resources available in the sector, speakers at the 4th Ghana Policy Fair on promoting the petrochemical industry for accelerated economic development insisted on the appropriate management of these resources to benefit Ghanaians. For them, integrating oil and gas resources with other sectors of the economy, particularly agric, is key to growth.
If we do things the way we have started, being rent collectors, allowing substantial portion of the spending to be done outside our economy, allowing the growth to be coming from that enclave industry, Ghana may not be able to escape the curse of oil. Because the only way we can maximize benefits from this industry is how fast we can integrate the oil and gas sector with the rest of the economy. This is what can create the jobs, this can add value, this can create more incomes, and this is what will enable Ghana to escape the oil curse.
And when we collectively leverage on these resources with our uniquely endowed other natural resources, such as bauxite, iron ore, manganese, limestone, salt, we are in a unique position to develop a petrochemical industry that has the potential to provide the needed employment for Ghanaians and ultimately create considerable wealth and also economic development for this country.
Others also indicated the petrochemical sector will attract investments with the appropriate handling.
With the current oil find, this is really going to, promote investment into the country. Investment of various infrastructure. We are looking at refineries. There's a need to look at refineries that would want to process these products further into fertilizer and other plastics and inorganic materials. There's the need to regulate every aspect of it. Once, and all these things within the regulation would also need to attract investment.
Other speakers also asked for the capitalization of the Ghana Gas Company, which is expected to be the driving force of the petrochemical industry.
Now, China's economic growth picked up pace in the July to September period, the first rise in 3 quarters. The world's second biggest economy grew 7.8% from a year earlier, up from 7.5% expansion in the previous quarter. The official figures also showed growth in industrial output, retail sales and fixed asset management. After years of blistering growth, China has seen its first pace of expansion slow recently, and there have been fears that growth may slow further. China has set a growth target of 7.5% for the year. Analysts said the latest numbers indicated that it was likely that Beijing would meet this. Let's do some sports now, brought to you by Tigo. You're watching Joy News, and this is News Today. In news from elsewhere, Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee investigating the Kenya mall attack says 2 charred bodies pulled from the Kenya's Westgate shopping center on Thursday are highly likely to be 2 of the attackers. Ndugu also said the body of a Kenyan soldier had been recovered. The authorities will now conduct forensic tests on the bodies. At least 67 people died when suspected Al-Shabaab militants stormed the Nairobi shopping center on 21st September. The attack sparked a 4-day siege in which large parts of the shopping center were destroyed. The Kenyan authorities have released the names of 4 suspects in the attack, but have given few other details. Meanwhile, the man being investigated by Norwegian police over the attack on Kenya's Westgate shopping center is Hassan Abdi. The 23-year-old Norwegian citizen of Somali origin is suspected of helping to plan and carry out the attack. He left the town of Lavik for Somalia in 2009, and at least 67 people died in the attack in Nairobi, which is linked to Al-Shabaab, a militant group. Israel remains skeptical about Iran's nuclear ambitions despite some progress reported in talks this week between world powers and Iranian envoys. Israel views an Iranian nuclear bomb as a threat to its existence and doubts Iran's claims that its nuclear aims are peaceful. Reaction is cautious in Israel despite reports by world powers and Iran of substantive and forward-looking talks in Geneva on Iran's nuclear program. The Israeli government wants the sanctions maintained until Tehran ends all aspects of any nuclear weapons program, including uranium enrichment. Iran says its program is for peaceful purposes and it will not halt enrichment. Australian firefighters are battling a series of major wildfires in New South Wales with fears that hundreds of homes have been destroyed. The blaze is continuing to burn on the outskirts of Sydney despite the easing of temperatures and winds. One man has died while trying to protect his home. Prime Minister Tony Abbott visited Wimerley in the Blue Mountains, one of the areas worst hit by the fires, around 70 kilometers west of Sydney. Bushfires are common in Australia, but they have come earlier than normal this year, sparking concerns of further problems to come. Minister for Police and Emergency Services Michael Gallagher says the speed and the ferocity of the fires was something not seen for many, many years. Right, that's it for the segment. We'll return with but just before we go into arts and entertainment, a 9-year-old Anaba Abugri, a class 4 pupil, well, we'll bring you that story later. Let's not, well, just take you through that quickly, but let's take a look at the story of 9-year-old Anaba Abugri.
Old and unable to work, his mother, Akopoka, was a petty trader but had to stop trading in order to take care of him because his condition was worsening. Akopoka has 9 children from 7 births, and Anaba is one of triplets the family is blessed with. The other 2 of the triplets are girls who are very healthy and doing well in school. At birth, Anaba's genitals were not properly formed and his bladder exposed outside his body, making his urine constantly flow out of his body. For this reason, at age 9, Anaba still wears diapers. Doctors at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi diagnosed his condition as bladder exstrophy and booked him for surgery in April 2012, a subsequent review in September that same year. However, Anaba's parents could not even afford the cost of transportation from Bolgatanga to Kumasi, not to talk of the cost of the surgery of 5,000 Ghana cedis. Joy News caught up with him in the company of his mother and headmistress in search of help.
I had triplets and accepted them because they are gifts from God. I have managed to look after them and even put them in school. But Anaba's condition is very disturbing to me. The urine just keeps dripping and swelling him, so his colleagues at school make fun of him, saying that he stinks. We cannot pay for the cost of his operation. Even feeding is a big problem for us. I am therefore appealing for help from everyone out there, so we can get his operation done.
The headmistress of Sakurit Primary School, which Anaba attends, Margaret Adongo, said she had to promote Anaba from class 2 straight to class 4 to join his two siblings because of his intelligence, but his condition is adversely affecting his performance in school.
The boy's condition affects his learning in school so much. One, when he comes in from school, from the home, he doesn't come out for break. He's always seated in the classroom throughout the instructional hours from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. He doesn't come out to play. Secondly, when he soils himself, the classmates always make some signs that he's smelling. Sometimes they even say, hey, I never do that. They will make fun of him. And that sometimes even affects the other two siblings, because they always have to also feel the pain. The boy will be crying, so the whole day he may not even now steady.
Please help save the life of Anaba.
Let's now do some arts and entertainment. And as part of the 4th annual Ghana Policy Fair this year, the pioneers, some heads and lovers of the creative arts industry, also came together to discuss and share some ideas as to how to improve and make the creative arts industry more marketable.
The 4th annual policy fair, which was held at the Accra International Conference Center, clearly did not leave the creative arts industry out. At a dialogue session, issues discussed were all aimed at promoting the creative arts industry and also to accelerate national development. Speaking at the dialogue session, stakeholders James Ebowhite, Kwawansa, David Dontor, and the Deputy Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Jifa Gomashi, all shared their observations about the industry.
The reality in Ghana is that we are losing every sector of our nation and of our economy to foreigners. Almost every sector. Banking, telecom, everything, transportation. We're losing all of it. We're losing all of it. The question is, would we also lose the arts? Indeed, even in the arts, we're fighting a losing battle. Turn on the television today, and what you're likely to see at this time will not be a Ghanaian content. It will be a foreign content.
A traditional dance known as Obeneshimo among the Gans and a Bise among their hunters and Nzimas has been taken and recast into what is now called Azonto. And yet, we make no public acknowledgement at all to the roots of this dance. Our festivals that are platforms to showcase our cultural art forms are consistently being condemned as fetish.
Let's build a people's trust in the heritage and pride of this great nation and make our people a part of each day. How do we do that? Society is ourselves mobilized as a unit with a philosophy, an attitude, and cultural identity born out of our heritage that makes it safe and secure to live in.
We need to appreciate who we are. We need to value what we are, our culture, our traditions, our way of life.
The sector minister was happy about turnout at the session.
And there are a lot of people who do not know the potential in the creative arts industry. And I think we've been given a very good platform And from all the discussions that have gone on, we have shown without doubt that the creative sector is capable of changing the economy, creating jobs, redistributing wealth, and then reducing unemployment.
Some patrons spoke to us.
For me, it's the first time I'm attending this meeting, but listening to our chairman, the speakers, what they said is right on the point, because I'm a typical example. You know, I got into the Astro Asofodazi cantata, and that one is a local language that we do. And people say, hey, obey the Moffat, so that I spoke English. They were surprised. Oh, you see, indeed, they really look upon the creative arts, which is not correct, which is not right.
From the speech that the minister gave, you could see that government is extremely committed to inputting the thoughts and strategies that are being submitted by stakeholders in the industry and industry players. So of course, once such steps are taken, then you can be certain that this will go a long way into affecting the entire creative arts industry.
Meanwhile, Ghanaians are being advised to be proud and project their culture.
A look at our headlines for today on News Today. An executive director, Absalom Monitoring Center, says the Food and Drugs Authority should ensure it builds a system people trust. Experts in the petrochemical industry call for revenues from the oil and gas sector to be channeled into developing other sectors of the economy, particularly agriculture. On the foreign front, chairman of the parliamentary committee investigating the Kenya mall attack says 2 charred bodies have been pulled from Kenya's Westgate shopping center on Thursday, highly likely to be those of the attackers. Many thanks for watching. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.